As of today, Chelsea has lost against Nottingham Forest, and a lot of fans are worried. But I'm here to talk about how I think that they should not be worried and that Chelsea should in fact not be getting results in the moment. So let's do it. First, I need to address how the 1 million spending spree that Chelsea has is kind of misleading. If you look at that number, you'll think that Chelsea has a very good team that's going to contend for every single title that's possible, but that is not the case. I don't think that Chelsea are able to do that with their squad. In fact, all the transfers they have done are not really to reinforce the squad in current ability, but more to build a team for the future. I think all of their signings, especially this summer, are only to make the team very good in the next 2 or 3 years and not to play well right now. So, like Mudryk, he wasn't bought for his current ability. He's not £100 million worth player, but he's more of £100 million potential player. And if you kind of get me, that's kind of what Chelsea is trying to build on. That's kind of why I don't think that Chelsea should be playing well right now, because they are in the moment of rebuilding the team. If you are into American sports, you probably notice a lot, especially the NBA, when a team isn't good enough to contend for a title, they kind of sell or trade their best players to go for younger players to try and build a team for the future. So that's kind of what Chelsea is trying to do here. I believe that last summer they didn't want to do that because they went after very good players like Sterling, Koulibaly, and so on. But it went in the moments in the season where it kind of didn't work. They were very bad in the league. They weren't playing well. They kind of blew it up and said, okay, let's rebuild. And I think that's kind of what Boehly wanted to do last winter and this summer as well. So they bought Caicedo, they bought Lavia, they bought Mudryk, they bought Janssen, all those young players, actually a lot of players, and kind of sold their older players like Havertz, Mount, Jorginho, Lukaku, Mendy, all those players. And it resulted in getting a lot of money, especially from Saudi Arabia. And it also shows that Chelsea are not trying to go to titles right now. They're not trying to play well, get results right now. They are playing to develop their talents. You have almost all the players in the Chelsea team are in certain level. Some are lower, some are higher, but all of them have a very high ceiling. They can all potentially be very good players. And I think that's what that 1 billion value kind of gets misleading. I don't think the players they bought are world-class quality, but they have world-class potential. And they also bought a lot of players, like a lot of players you may not even heard they bought, but they did, like Slonina, Petkovic, Angelo, David Washington. Those 4 or 5 almost resulted in £100 million spent. So you kind of also have to think that they also bought a lot of players, because last season there were reports of Chelsea dressing room not being big enough to fit other players. So that's kind of my criticism to what Boehly is trying to build here. I think it kind of overdid it. They were going after players, especially this summer, but I think it wasn't really needed. I think that like Lavia wasn't needed, Petkovic wasn't needed, Cole Palmer wasn't needed, but they did sign him almost like in fear of missing out on them, on the fear of maybe like if they waited one more window, other clubs would buy them and they wouldn't want that. That's kind of, I think, the mentality that Chelsea had in some of those transfers. And then it kind of results in having a very big team. And especially a team that has no Europe competitions this season, they have way less games to rotate those players. So a lot of these players are not going to have enough game time to develop and get their potential. So I think that's going to be a possible situation, if things kind of screw up, where Chelsea might go back to that time where they had thousands and thousands of players on loans. You had like players like Bamba, Van Ginkel going on in numerous loans every year. I'm really worried about how things are being built at Chelsea right now. I don't know if that's a really good project or it's just boldly stacking up players in hope of trying to create a good team for the future. That's my main worry about Chelsea right now. That I would say is, but I think that's where Mauricio Pochettino comes into play. You kind of have to get a proper manager to lead this team, and Pochettino is probably the best one. He has a very good history of rebuilding teams. He got Spaniol, got them a level higher. Tottenham the same. He developed players like Eriksen, Dele Alli, Harry Kane. All of those went a level or two levels higher with Pochettino. I think that's like the perfect manager he wants to approach it like this. I think that's a plus on Chelsea's side, that the manager situation, in contrary to what happened last year, is actually quite well. Look at that price of 1 billion spent. They think, okay, like we have to win titles, we have to contend the Premier League, we have to play well. I don't think that's the case. I think like you have to be patient. I think in 2 or 3 years, if you aren't like top 3, top 2, then it's becoming quite worried because a lot of the team is like 1-2 years away from stardom. Like Nkunku is, Caicedo is, Janssen is probably already at stardom arguably, Lavia is, a lot of center backs are, Robert Sanchez is. Like next season you're gonna see a much better Chelsea team. The next year a much better one. And then in the kind of years you kind of see that team develop even more. And if everything goes well, you have a team that has an amazing starting 11, an amazing bench. But then if it doesn't go right, then you have a team with maybe a good starting 11, but a lot of players on loans. And that's kind of what worries me, is how it's kind of managed in this situation. Like here, Madison, in my opinion, I think he can be into the squad as a backup to Marcos Alonso. Diego Moreira went loan to Lyon. I think that's a good move. Andre Santos, a good move to loan him to Forest. Casadei as well. I think those kind of moves that were managed well. If it keeps being done like this, I think Chelsea are in a very good run. I think they are in a very good path, let's say that, to become a very good team in the next years. I think that's what Bowley wants to do. But I have one negative that I want to talk about this project, is the lack of experience. I think in every team you have to have a little bit of experience in the dressing room. And I think that's what is lacking almost this team. I feel like with so young players, you also have to have, not a lot of mentors, but some mentors to kind of guide them in this process to try to not get them lost. Like Thiago Silva is a perfect one. I think Thiago Silva is going to be a very key piece to watch us perform off the pitch. I think he's going to be a great mentor for the defenders, young defenders. And I kind of wish there were more Thiago Silvas in that team. Like, I think the second most experienced player of Thiago Silva is Chilwell. And then Rhys James, like Enzo was captain today against Nottingham Forest. So it kind of strikes me with kind of worry of not having enough leadership in that dressing room. But I think obviously that's something that maybe Pochettino can deal with. But in the overall, I have to applaud Todd Bowley. I think he's been doing his rebuilding process really well. I honestly think that maybe he kind of overdid it with the signings, obviously because 1 million spent is still a lot. Okay, it's still a lot. But he had the idea, he executed it well. I think he has his idea planned out. I think it's going to work out. The players he signed are very good. And I think like even David Washington and Angelo from Brazil, it's kind of like Real Madrid or Barcelona signings, let's say. I think from what I've heard, they are very good players, and you already have good enough players that are going to be good in 1 year, good in 3 years, things like that. And I think Bowley is kind of innovated with this Chelsea team, and I honestly think it's going to work out. I also wanted to address what are my expectations for Chelsea this season. In the start, I may have kind of wanted Chelsea to be top 6, challenge for top 4. But again, with the amount of injuries they have now, I think it's gonna maybe be top 6 a priority. Because also Premier League competition is becoming more and more serious. You have the usual like top 6, apart from Chelsea, Tottenham is becoming pretty good now. Arsenal, Man City, United, Liverpool are the teams as we all know. You have Newcastle now crawling in, you have Brighton crawling in, you have Aston Villa even as well. You can also talk about Brentford as well. But again, there is a lot of competition right now, and Chelsea might not be in the best stages this season to do that well against the competition, and that's why I think there is a slight chance that Chelsea might not make top 6. And that kind of slows down the process. And I think it's very important for Chelsea to qualify into Europe, at least have more games, give more experience to the younger players, all things like that. I think it's very important. But if not, I don't think it's that big of a deal. They can wait one more year. But like in the end, the whole goal is to build a team in the future that's going to be contending for Champions Leagues, Premier Leagues. They're going to win all of these titles. And I think that's what Chelsea fans need to put in their minds. I don't think they need to kind of look at the results, look at how they played this season, look at what the talent is, the potential is, and imagine your team in the future. I think that's what's better for you. I think Chelsea might not do well this season, might be a bit shaky next year, but you're going to see things running on. I think with the right path, I think they can become like a serious team next year. And I honestly think that Chelsea, in like 2 or 3 years, is seriously going to be contending for the Premier League and the Champions League. I honestly think that. Yeah. See you when I make another video, I guess. Bye.